If you look at wealthy real estate investors from the outside, it looks like every deal they do comes with a tax benefit. Buy a property, get a deduction, sell a property, defer the gain. It feels like real estate just always works in your favor. But when I actually look at the tax returns and the IRS audit results, that is not what's always happening. And the people copying what it looks like are usually the ones creating the biggest tax problems for themselves, because there's one decision in real estate that quietly determines whether you're saving tax or triggering it, and most people don't even realize they made it. And I'm Jasmine DiLucci. I'm a tax attorney, CPA, and enrolled agent. I got my first tax license as an enrolled agent back in high school, and today I work on IRS audits, tax court cases, and real estate structures every day, and this pattern shows up over and over again. We're gonna break this down into 3 parts, okay? The trigger for real estate tax problems, the tax bill that comes due, and the strategy to get around it. Because once you understand how these 3 pieces work together, you can stop copying what wealthy real estate investors look like they're doing and start understanding what they're actually optimizing for. So let's start with the trigger, because this is the moment that people don't even realize they've created a huge tax problem. Most people think real estate is simple. You buy something, it goes up in value, you get tax benefits along the way, and eventually you sell and you make lots of money. That last step is the part people often do not fully understand, because in the tax code, there are certain moments that trigger consequences. We call them taxable events. What people think is happening is that real estate always creates tax savings. They'll say, I bought a property, I did a cost seg, I took all of these write-offs and I saved a ton in taxes. But you're only looking at a 1-year time horizon. Okay, real estate is usually a tax deferral strategy, not automatic permanent tax savings. Because the moment you sell the property, or even worse, distribute it out of the corporation without a sale, many of those supposed savings get reversed because the transaction triggers a taxable event. At that point, you are generally taxed on the difference between the property's fair market value or sales price and its tax basis, which is typically your original purchase price plus improvements reduced by the depreciation you've claimed. And once that taxable event is triggered, the next question is simple. How much tax exactly is the IRS going to take? So now let's talk about the tax bill, because once that trigger happens, this is where people realize they have a big problem. Okay, this is where I see the biggest disconnect. People think they've been saving money in real estate, but they've actually just been deferring the tax consequence. Every year, you take depreciation deductions and lower taxable income on paper, but when a taxable event happens, usually a sale, the IRS starts reconciling everything at once, and that is the part people do not see coming. First, you have depreciation recapture, and that means the deductions you took over the years do not just disappear into history. Okay, the IRS generally wants to tax that benefit back first. In real estate, that often shows up as unrecaptured Section 1250 gain, taxed up to 25%. Then on top of that, you still have capital gain on the appreciation above your original purchase price and adjusted basis. So now you are dealing with 2 separate layers of tax: depreciation recapture and capital gain. And if you did a cost segregation study, you may have made that recapture problem worse, because what you really did was convert part of the property from real property into shorter life tangible personal property. And in plain English, that means you took assets that may have been recaptured at a maximum 25% rate and you converted them into assets that can be recaptured at ordinary income rates up to 37%. Let's use some simple numbers, okay? Assume you have cost segregation and you accelerated depreciation of $240,000. If that amount had stayed in that ordinary real property bucket, the recapture tax at 25% would have been $60,000. But if a cost segregation converts that same $240,000 into assets recaptured at ordinary income rates up to 37%, the tax becomes $88,000, okay? That is an extra $28,000 of tax created just by changing the character of the depreciation. The issue is that in some cases, the structure turns what looked like a tax advantage on the front end into an even more expensive tax result on the back end. And now that you understand the tax bill this can create, the next question becomes, how do you structure your real estate investments so you can actually keep the tax benefit? Now let's get into the strategy, because once you understand the trigger and the bill, this is where you can actually change your behavior. This is where wealthy investors stop asking, how much tax will I pay? And they start asking, how do I avoid triggering this entirely? And here's the strategy. Step 1, a properly executed 1031 exchange. Okay, a 1031 exchange allows you to defer recognition of the gain if you reinvest into another qualifying property. So there's no immediate capital gain and no immediate depreciation recapture, because legally the gain is moved from the old property to the new property and not yet triggered in a taxable event. I've seen so many people make that mistake. They sell the property, take the cash, and then ask for help, okay, when it is already too late. And I also see people fail on the financial side. If you sell a $1 million property with a $200,000 basis and an $800,000 loan, you do not get full deferral just by rolling over the $200,000 of net cash. To fully defer the gain, you generally need to acquire replacement property of equal or greater value and replace the debt that you gave up with either new debt or additional cash. They think they completed the exchange, but you do not reduce the amount that needs to be reinvested for debt. You need to move the full amount to the next property to avoid triggering the full gain. And even when the exchange is done correctly, I still see failures in reporting. Okay, if it is not properly reported on Form 8824 in the return, from the IRS's perspective, the transaction may not be reflected the way that you think it is. So a properly executed 1031 exchange lets you continue the tax deferral after disposing of one property by carrying that deferred gain into the next. But for investors who are thinking even further ahead, the goal is not just to defer the tax, it is to structure things so that the taxable event never happens at all. Which brings me to step number 2, holding the property until death. The goal is not just to defer the tax, it is to never trigger the taxable event at all. Okay, if properties are held until death, there's a step up in basis, the property resets to fair market value. The deferred gain disappears, the recapture disappears. From a tax standpoint, it's as if the gain never existed and no one has to pay income tax on it. That is why sophisticated investors are often not just buying real estate for cash flow or appreciation, they are also thinking about how long they can hold it, how they can avoid triggering a sale, and whether the property is something worth carrying for the long term. Because once you understand the tax law, you realize the strategy is not always to sell and lock in the profit. Sometimes the strategy is to keep deferring, keep borrowing against the asset if needed for liquidity, and never voluntarily trigger the tax bill at all. And step number 3, buy more real estate. Okay, while all of this is happening, they do more of it every year. They're taking depreciation, using cost segregations when appropriate, and timing deductions in high income years. But when you carry property through a 1031, you don't reset the depreciation. The basis carries over, okay? The gain carries over. So the new property doesn't give you full, fresh new write-offs, which is why wealthy investors don't rely on recycled basis from properties with 1031 exchanges. They use cash flow from active income or other sources to acquire new property. Okay, new capital, new basis, new depreciation. So now they're creating new deductions at the same time as avoiding taxable events from prior year purchases. So if you take anything from this video, it's this. Okay, real estate tax strategy is not just about getting the deduction, it's about understanding what actually triggers the tax and structuring around it. Because the people who win in real estate are not just good at buying properties, they're controlling when gain is triggered, when recapture shows up, and when the IRS gets paid, and most importantly, when it doesn't. Because the real mistake is not paying tax. The real mistake is thinking you created a tax benefit when all you really did was delay, or even worse, increase your tax bill. And if you want more breakdowns rooted in actual tax law and not surface level advice, subscribe, because tax law is not about shortcuts. It's about understanding the system well enough that it stops surprising you.